You wake up and the alarm feels like a personal insult. The coffee is a ritual, not a pleasure. This isn't just tiredness, it's burnout, a psychological syndrome that drains your emotional, physical, and mental energy. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that your system has reached its breaking point. The World Health Organization defines it as a psychological syndrome from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been managed. But it's more than just work fatigue. It's a profound depletion that colors every part of your life. Your to-do list feels like a list of obligations you resent before starting. You're not just tired, you're hollowed out. For millions, this is the daily texture of life, masked by a culture that glorifies overwork. Understanding why you feel perpetually exhausted requires peeling back the layers, moving beyond self-care platitudes to the hard science of human resilience and its limits. This isn't a bad night's sleep. It's a state of being. The most obvious component of burnout is emotional exhaustion, feeling overextended and drained by contact with others. It's the teacher with no empathy left for a struggling student, the nurse numb to a patient's pain. Research links this to dysregulation of the HPA axis, the body's stress response system. Chronic stress keeps cortisol levels elevated until the system crashes. You aren't just tired, your stress hormones are chemically exhausted. This isn't a mood, it's a biological state. The constant demand wears down your emotional reserves, leaving you feeling empty and unable to recharge. It's the core of fatigue, the foundation on which other symptoms build. When exhaustion sets in, the mind builds a protective shell. Cynicism. You distance yourself from work and people, becoming detached and impersonal. I don't care anymore becomes a survival mantra. This isn't your personality, it's a symptom. A study in the Journal of Applied Psychology found cynicism is a direct result of emotional exhaustion, a way to conserve energy. It's the mind saying, I can't afford to feel anything else right now. This emotional armor shields you from further pain, but also cuts you off from connection and meaning. You become isolated in your own defense mechanism, losing the very relationships that could help. The most insidious dimension is reduced personal accomplishment, feeling ineffective, like your efforts don't matter. You question your competence even when evidence says otherwise. This isn't imposter syndrome, it's learned helplessness from constant demand. When the reward for hard work is more work, the brain stops associating effort with success. A meta-analysis confirmed this dimension is strongly linked to lower job satisfaction and higher turnover intentions. You stop believing you can make a difference, so you stop trying. The erosion of efficacy is a slow fade, where your sense of mastery and achievement dissolves, leaving you feeling powerless and hopeless in your own life. Burnout emerges from specific mismatches between you and your environment. Maslach and later identified 6 key areas: workload, control, reward, community, fairness, and values. Workload when demands exceed human limits, not just hours, but intensity. Control when you lack autonomy, micromanagement strips agency. Reward when effort doesn't match recognition. Community when relationships are toxic or isolating. Fairness when inequity erodes trust. Values when personal ethics clash with organizational demands. These fault lines form where exhaustion grows. Critically, burnout isn't just a work problem. It follows you home, disrupting sleep, relationships, and joy. Research shows it's a risk factor for cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Chronic stress fundamentally alters brain function. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and focus, shrinks its neurons under high cortisol. This is why you feel foggy and indecisive. Your brain is losing its capacity to think clearly. Simultaneously, the amygdala becomes hyperactive, making you reactive and anxious. The brain is stuck in high alert, draining energy like running a mental marathon daily. The reward system, driven by dopamine, becomes blunted. Activities that once brought pleasure, a good meal, a hobby, no longer register. This is anhedonia, a hallmark of burnout. Your brain's chemistry is exhausted, not just your willpower. Recovery requires addressing the root mismatches, not just surface symptoms. Start by reclaiming control where you can, set boundaries, delegate, or say no to non-essential tasks. Rebuild community through supportive relationships, even if it means seeking connection outside work. Align your actions with your values. If your job clashes with your ethics, consider a change. Prioritize sleep and restorative activities that genuinely recharge you, not just numb you. Cognitive behavioral therapy can help reframe thought patterns. Remember, burnout is a system failure. not a personal flaw. With deliberate steps, you can restore balance and rebuild resilience, one small change at a time. Burnout is a signal that something needs to change. Listen to it and take the first step toward reclaiming your energy and your life.